I began by asking about Israel's strike on this warehouse in Rafah just days ago. Given that you have daily conversations coordinating movement of people, when a warehouse that you know Israel knows that's your warehouse and where it is, when something like that happens and it's attacked, and you get on the phone, what's that conversation like?
Well, the conversation would start by saying, what the hell? How come? You know that this is a distribution center. You know that our staff is there. You have all the coordinator. How come this could have happened? Is this deliberate, not deliberate? Who is behind it? And after that, an investigation starts.
And this operation in Rafah, that is looming. What will that mean?
You know, this war is already the war of all the superlative. Basically, more than 30,000 people have been reported killed. There have been more children, more journalists, more United Nations staff, more health workers killed in 5 months than anywhere else in any other conflict. Last week, we basically had more children killed in 4 months than the number of children killed in 4 years in every conflict across the world. Combined.
Have you ever seen hunger accelerate this quickly?
I have seen hunger in the world. I have been based in Somalia, I have seen it in Eastern Africa, but in these places, most of the time, it's a combination due to climate change. They are slow onset and looming famine. But I have never ever seen in the world a place which never experienced hunger that within 4 or 5 months, the entire population experienced hunger. In a certain extent, there is something extremely medieval behind this.
What goes through your mind when you, knowing the challenges that you have on the ground, when you see airdrops happening, or an NGO like World Central Kitchen cooking food, and World Food Program able to get some trucks into the north? What's the difference there?
I don't think that any of these partners are in a position to do more than what UNRWA does. We are all confronted to the same kind of challenges, and one of the challenges on the ground is that there is no supply at scale for the population. We have now challenges on outside Gaza for the aid being authorized to come into Gaza, extraordinary cumbersome inspection mechanism on the Israeli side, plus the only real crossing being Kerem Shalom from the Israeli side. Some days it's shut down, some days it is open, sometimes you have demonstration blocking the supply. And then you have the situation inside Gaza, where basically we used to have also some protection from local police, but with the ongoing military operation, number of them have been targeted, and the remaining civil order has also imploded. And this is the reason why you see regularly scenes of peoples just jumping on the trucks and trying to help themselves of the assistance. And most of the time, the assistance has already gone before it properly reaches destination.
You talked about the cumbersome process of getting aid inspected. What sort of things have been turned away? What sort of items in the trucks?
I mean, for example, you had medical season for children. This has been turned back. I keep hearing that incubator for newborns have been turned back. Ventilator also for the emergency unit at the hospital have also been turned back. So basically, beside food, mattresses, clothes, and fuel, there are very little other items allowed to come into the Gaza Strip.
And when that's turned back, it's not like take this pallet out because we find medical scissors.
The entire truck which will be turned back.
The UN Relief and Works Agency and its 13,000 Gaza employees serve Palestinian refugees as the official mandate, but the agency is also fighting for its very existence. There is right now, and not for the first time, a campaign underway to cut it down, currently with allegations made in January by Israel that a dozen of its workers participated in the attacks of October the 7th. Lazzarini immediately fired those accused workers.
Now, this allegation of the 12 staff has been conveyed to me in person by a senior official of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It has been conveyed orally to me. It's absolutely horrible to think that staff might have participated to the massacre of October 7. Would this be the case, this would be a terrible betrayal for not only vis-à-vis UNRWA, but especially vis-à-vis the Palestinian communities or the Palestinian refugees. And I have taken swift action as from that day. But since, and despite our call for cooperation to the Israeli government, we haven't received any additional element substantiating this allegation.
So for people who are sitting at home but are left with the question, do I trust UNRWA? How do you vet your staff, and how do you coordinate it with Israel?
We are sharing on a yearly basis our list of staff with the government of Israel and also with the Palestinian authorities. We have full transparency on all our teachers, nurses, doctors, engineers, or operation support staff with Israeli. And never ever, over the last few years, I have received any concern or about a possible political affiliation of our staff.
But this conversation, regardless of whether you're watching it on social media or you're watching
Yes.
it in more of official
Yes.
or mainstream places, there is a melding of perceptions. There is an attempt to suggest where UNRWA stops and Hamas begins, the lines are blurred.
You know, we are in a kind of a propaganda and communication war also, to say there is absolutely no differences between Hamas and UNRWA. This is a complete nonsense. I'm heading a UN agency providing human development to Palestinian refugees, education, primary and secondary education to more than 300,000 girls and boys only in the Gaza Strip, and more than 500,000 across the region here. We provide primary health care to millions of Palestinian refugees. How can you equate even the UN agency with Hamas? Hamas is in control since 2005. More than half the population are children between the age of 1 to 18 years. None of them have elected Hamas.
There are calls from within Israel to expel the organization, seize its headquarters. A number of countries, when hearing the Hamas allegations, said they would pause funding. Many, like Canada, have since vowed to renew, but not the biggest donor, the United States. A shortfall of nearly $500 million from the Americans could be ruinous. And then there's a reality that other UN leaders have not had their visas renewed. Philippe Lazzarini doesn't know what will happen to him, or UNRWA, or the Palestinians the agency is supposed to help care for.